Iko Nini. So jana kuna kitu fulani imehappen hii area ya studio na ilikuwa like one of those really scary things because I remember nikiamka asubuhi alafu nikaingia Twitter. So vile niliingia Twitter nikabaki nimecheki like a certain post that had been ilikuwa imewekwa na mtu anaitwa Asmali. And kitu agafani ni when you hear these things like so Asmali alikuwa amepost that kuna building imecollapse in South Sea. So ukisikia kitu kama hii uko zile za haiwezi kuwa ni place nukuwa like itakuwaje ni place unajua like alafu the next thing na cheki like the avenue that it's saying hiyo kitu imehappen ni place mupitiaga like every single day. So that's the other thing. Alafu after building a collapse, one of the things that happens is the whole area starts looking funny, and I could not figure out which place this was. So wacha ni go back to hii tweet ya Asmali. So alikuwa ameandika 16th floor building under construction in South Sea area of Nairobi collapses, casualties unknown at the moment. Okay, then nikacheki place yenyewe, I'm looking at the video and I just can't figure out like which part of South Sea is this. Then kitu ika happen like so me hiyo nimeamka I think ilikuwa like around 8 yes around 8:30 because the previous night nilikuwa nimelala mapema which was 2 pm. I don't know, nilikuwa nimechapa kiasi and yeah then I think maybe around nika try kurudi kulala then around maybe 9 wife akaamka na yeye kuamka pia kiangalia social media iko like hey, this building next to shopping center imeanguka. Namuuliza building gani? Sile next to shopping center. Alafu yes, it's literally. So ukitaka kujua how this was scary for me, hiyo ni place nimeitumia so many times that this building collapsed on let's say Friday morning. Thursday evening niko nimepitia hapo. Hiyo ni place mupitiaga like basically every day in quotes. And vile building ilianguka kwa barabara. Hiyo njia like mostly around what time can I say? Anytime from I'd say 6 am hadi around 10 inakuwaga very busy, kuna kuwaga na jam hapo. Then anytime around I'd say from 3 pm up to around 9 pm kuna kuwaga na sort of jam hapo. So you can try and imagine how much damage ama how much death that can cause. So ile time ushaisikiaga building imecollapse alafu you start telling yourself that it's actually good that it happened during a festive ama the festive period, because that means that people were not as active as they normally be. And pia unasikia kitu ile happen usiku 5 am uko like when mseka mimi lakini bado uko thank God. Why? Because if this had happened like at 7 am the amount of people wangededi hapo. And then you sit down and then you start now thinking about it, because now after this happens niko zile za it can't be that building. So what did I do? I decided to now kuamka, kuvaa viatu na kwenda hiyo raundi. So nikaenda hiyo raundi nikitry kucheck like to try and see like what was happening. So let me see. So one of the things that was happening ile utashindwa umseni aje. One of the things that you have to do in a situation like this is you can't forget that kuna mathegi. So the first thing that lazima ubaki umefanya ni hiyo kusecure the actual phone itself. So utacheki kuna vile nilikuwa natembea, so natembea hiyo design unacheki kuna hiyo Rubies that's a petrol station. Then ukicheki mafala wa nduthi lazima ukuwe rada na nini yako. So nacheki ambulance of course by this time it has no one on board, it's just going. And then afterwards nikacheki kulikuwa na gari pia makarao imepark hapo on the side. So hii time yote natembea na try kufigure out like how do I find myself there, because also another thing that happens if something happens in your so-called neighborhood you always underestimate its impact and you're like I'll be maybe the only person going there to check, other people are not interested. Then you find out people are super interested. So kuna hiyo part ni try kucheck hii place from this position where there is a police car and it was too far. So I had to try and figure out like how do I like find this place. And don't forget the same thing, so it may happen zile masaiza shopping center I can see a very big crowd of people nachikiwa nduthi kibao, so na try kuprotect simu. So I think from hii shot kuna part I think hata finger yangu inaonekana, cause kichekia mafalo wa nduthi you always have to be rada. Unapata mjinga ameka mkuiba, alafu makarao pia zitakusaidia. So hii part niko natembea tu nikienda toward hiyo nini. Alafu sasa ukiwa hapa shopping center you can actually see the building and you can see the rubble. And this is a place that nimepitia so many times that damn, hata majuzi nakumbuka nilikuwa natry kujifundisha kuendesha like a manual car. So I remember nikifika around your area, alafu hiyo manual jo ikabaki imestall jo. This was like uko early December and I had to maneuver it and niweze kutoka hiyo area. All that time was I thinking that the building that's on my left would collapse? No. That's the last thing that you think about. Najua, you don't think about that a building kama hiyo inaweza collapse. So with time nikaamua kumove closer. So hapa kuna vile nilikuwa na try kuzoom in. So hiyo building inaonekana hiyo side, it's a building that inasemekana saizi it might end up being like demolished. So yes, and then there's another footage ile hapo unaweza cheki now, like the sort of people wanacheki msaki wana his apron. Alafu unaweza cheki hiyo building ukiangalia vizuri you can see the standing building inasemekana that saizi na shake and is end up ikiangushwa. So unaweza cheki hivyo. So this was the even like the sort of response that we had, because I remember like now much later kuna vile nilienda up nikipitana na nini fulani, nikipitana na truck fulani ile ilikuwa inaenda to that same area. Let me see kama neza nini. Yes, ilikuwa hizi matruck imeandikwa Sunny. Yes, and the truck was going to that area. And yes, so this actually happened in a place that I pass by a lot of times. It also happened in a place that kuna kuagana a lot of traffic. And now questions had to be asked. Kwa umesikiza Iko Nini long enough, umesikia gani kiteta that one thing I hate about our country, because mupendaga hii nchi sana. Unajua the reason why mupenda kukriticize nchi yangu ni because naipenda sana. And all things mu hatigi juu hii nchi ni hakunaga consequences, because the minute that there are no consequences a lot of stuff happens. And right now a building has collapsed, and what do we know so far? A few of the things zile nazijua juu ya msa anaitwa Robert Alai, because Robert Alai of course anawaka kwa the county government. So in the process Alai will know things that I don't know, and these are some of the posts that Alai alikuwa ameandika. And when you look at these posts, the first thing that comes to your mind is there are no consequences. And if there are no consequences, what's going to happen? People are going to do whatever they want to do. Nacheki. So Alai alikuwa ameandika hivi. Kumbuka nilikwambia hiyo place na kuagana a lot of traffic. Kuzio barabara yo building ilikuwa right next to the road. Like yo building kianguka, it had to end up on the road. There was no otherwise. And it had to end up on two roads. East side moja next to Kongoni Primary, alafu the other side pia ile inatoka next to a certain hospital inaitwa Nairobi South Hospital. So Alai alikuwa ameandika 2 guards and 2 Bolt drivers plus their passengers are reportedly killed in the South Sea building collapse. So out of our 2 guards inasemekana kuna moja who was still calling. Like by the time mimi nilikuwa naenda hiyo neighborhood kufilm, one of the things that tulisikia ni there was one person who was communicating. Alikuwa anasema bado yuko alive. So sijui kama alikuwa injured, that one I didn't find out. Then Alai akaendelea, I'm told that this building was built on therefore LR number blah 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 and was initially approved for 12 floors. 5 more floors were added after a bribe of 25 million shillings was shared among county officers within the Nairobi County Physical Planning Department. Then ikaendelea, officers who should be held responsible are, then akaandika Chief Officer Planning, Director of Physical Planning, County Planner, Assistant Directors, County Director, Structural, Architects of Record, Quantity Surveyor, Langata Sub-County Enforcement Unit, the Commander, Contractor, Developer, Property Owner. Yes. Alafu ikaandikwa, some of the crimes that they can be charged with include manslaughter, criminal negligence, institutional corruption, and even systemic abuse of office. Then ikaendelea, regarding the illegal approvals in Nairobi, Frederick Ochanda, Patrick Analo and Osman Khalif are behind the mess. They're allowing illegal buildings and billboards all over as long as they are paid bribes. Then akaeka now the building itself. So hii building ingine unacheki ukitaka kujua the price of corruption. This building you can see like when this other one collapsed ilienda ikivunja part of this other building. So saizi inasemekana that this building has become so unstable that it might end up being pulled down. The one that's standing up. Like saizi kupitia hiyo njia ni dangerous. Like saizi before that's approved, I don't think I'll find myself on that road. You see, that's the price of corruption. So za cheki hii na hii kiangushwa, how are we sure that haita affect ile iko nyuma yake? And yes, so this is what happened, and now inasemekana at least 6 people lives zao ziko affected permanently na hii story. And I'll still go back to what I'd said earlier. Consequences zinakuwaga very important as a deterrent. And wacha niendelee bado na Alai. So Alai alikuwa ameandika this building was approved, alafu ikakasema to go 12 floors and it was already at the 16th floor. An approved 12 floor building was on the 16th floor because some extra 5 floors were approved by Frederick Ochanda and Patrick Analo to allow themselves to be bribed with 25 million shillings. These officers are a serious threat to Nairobi City County when they work with those in the office of the governor, like Osman Khalif and Nema DG Mamo. Then ikaendelea, this is a serious cartel working to destroy Nairobi by approving illegal buildings while flouting all rules including and especially public participation. Then ikaonyeshwa this is the plan. Ilikuwa approved for 12 floors to develop 80 apartments, 12 floors, 12 levels mixed use apartment in South C. Hii kitu sijui kama imeandikwa ilikuwa ni 19th of December 2023. One of the things that has happened is that building has moved so fast, yes. And I remember nimekuwa nikijoke juu ya Minnesota money. So sikuwa nimekumbuka like vitu kama hizi. Hiyo building imemove super fast. Alafu kwa contractor annual practicing. So you can see clearly ilikuwa 12 floors na by the time ina collapse ilikuwa 16 floors. So back to what I was talking about. Consequences zinakuwa very important when it comes to acting as a deterrent. So what should the consequences be? First of all, the property owner, it starts there. That one has to be arrested and charged with manslaughter. That one has to be there. Second, the engineer, because the architect Kali designed 12 floors, Ali designed 12 floors. For the engineer to accept to do 16 floors, ama the property developer, I don't know kama the engineer alikuwa anajua hiyo kitu, but the engineer also should know like how to check the 12 nini. Like this thing is supposed to be 12 floors, akaenda pa kitu 16 floors. That person needs to be arrested also, and what, charged with manslaughter plus illegal structure. Those county officials also manslaughter and illegal whatever. So this is the first thing tunanid kuanza nayo, is the people who were like the property developer, the contractor, yes, the contractor ndani manslaughter plus hiyo nini crimes zote zingine zile amebreak, Wasiwa County government manslaughter plus hizo, alafu the property developer manslaughter plus. That's the first level of consequence. The second level of consequence is the property developer lazima kuwe sued for wrongful death, and this needs to be in the hundreds of millions for those families. Nacheki. Then the second thing is, apart from that, another level is this other new building ile inaenda kuanguka jo ufala au pia wanafaa kusuu ufala, and that needs to be hundreds of millions. So if it's the same person, of course they can't sue themselves, so sawa. But if it's a different developer developing this other property and now you have to bring down your building because this person did that, lazima. So let's start with how. So the property owner has to be sued for wrongful death. Still, the county government of Nairobi needs to be sued for wrongful death. Why? This corruption has to stop. It has to stop at some point. And the only way it's going to stop is hiyo story ya wrongful death. I'll go as far as saying that mwaga na ujinga na naplan kupikia beste yangu Levi Munyeri. and ask him, mimi as a resident and as someone who lives in hii area, kama naweza sue the county for putting my life in danger. Nilipitia hapo Thursday usiku, na hiyo place there is no way to move out of that place like in a rush. You have to move slowly. Why? Because there's a road, kuna barabara inakuagaje, ukienda driving school mtu ambuagaje, wase wako on the right ndio wanakuaga na right of way. Najua hiyo story ya whatever, like I always check the right first because it's where the immediate danger is coming from. So kwa unatoka hiyo njia, lazima ukifika kwa hiyo intersection you have to stop, because the people on your right wame keep left wakienda hivi, so they have the right of way. So you have to stop and check. That split second of stopping and checking is enough for a building to collapse on you. And this is a building that's not supposed to collapse. Why? How many floors had been approved? 12 floors. How many floors were there? 16. I'm telling you, nimepitia hiyo place mara mob. Zile nini, ukionaga anytime niko na bonga like last year when I was serious na stories are working out, I used to pitia hapo every night, like 4 nights a week. Huko masaa 7 usiku nikienda raundi zangu. Anytime nikienda tao supitiaga hivyo. I think hata majuzi tukishia na Ian tuko tumetoka kuona Robo, so Robo alipitia hapo. Mimi na Ian pia tulipitia hapo tukishia, tuko tunaenda wapi? Tuko tunaenda ile event ya chess. That's how many times. And at no point, if you told me that a building would collapse on top of me, ningekwambia umechizi. Watu wengi wamesikiaga nikisifu South Sea. Like one of the things that I admire about this place, hata nikijoke juu ya Minnesota, little Minnesota, hii area yetu, ni one of the things that you see are all these buildings being built left, right and center. And you assume that every rule is being followed. Then what happens? You discover that's not the case. Why? Because a few people got bribed. And there are no consequences. People have to go to jail. Naweza kuambia the first time a building ever collapsed hapa Kenya, and we learned about it, of course other buildings had collapsed, ilikuwa pale around River Road, and it made such headlines that nakumbuka mpaka I think wase wa Israel walikam kuhelp, wakujapa na madogi zao, and it was in the news for a very long time. Did anyone ever go to jail because of that? No. And after that, so many buildings have collapsed. And why? So that a few people can get rich. And this is the reason why this whole Singapore dream, it's bullshit. Because this is not happening in Singapore. And I'd want to know, by the time I'm doing this, I don't know if the president has reacted to this whole story. But I'd want to know, has the president reacted to this story? Is it even worth his reaction? Ama is he there like, as long as it's not affordable housing, then he has nothing to do with me? You don't get to the level of Singapore by shortcuts. You get to that level by people following the law and people knowing hiyo kitu nimesema. And I'm going to ask Levy, Tauliza Levy, like, is there a way to come here pia niza sue the city for emotional distress? Because now, unless he building bring you down, I'll never find myself on that road. That's number one. Number two, there's so many buildings kwa hii neighborhood, and they are all very many floors. So saizi ukipita hapo utakukiuliza, is this going to be the next building to collapse juu yangu? And how am I supposed to compete with gravity? I can't. Gravity will be faster than me. There's no way I can outrun. There's no even I can outdrive inaitwa nini? Like a collapsing building. So what's supposed to happen? So this is that nini. Alafu nikigo back to his story ya Alai, because Alai of course has more information to his story, so he'd posted a lot about it. Like one of the things that happened is ama Alai pia alibaki amepost hiyo story ya how kuna wase waliendaga hii place kucheck the whole thing and the rules that were being broken. So ikasema ni this developer was a mess from the start. Chief Officer Analo and his directors are complicit in the murder. This time ametumia hivyo. Akasema the developer was so rogue that he'd even assault county staff and get protected by Osman and David Njoroge from Sakaja's office. And this is the reason why I keep saying that the county has to be sued. Like there's no other way about it. Alafu hapo unacheki, like if you watch the video, you can actually see that county, because umsengine sekani ya county official, ukiwatch your stairs kuna hiyo ngazi ambao utachikimsia kidunda na inasemekana ni juu alikuwa anafukuzwa, unacheki alisukumwa akadunda, alafu utamchekia kilimp. Alafu after this could happen, ask yourself, if these people don't have the approval of the big fish wa county, would this happen? Wewe mwenye jiulize ukiwa kwa keja yako, can you assault a county official and live to tell about it, ama be free enough to tell about kupatia another story? That's impossible. So this means that whoever alikuwa anafanya hivi alikuwa anajua yuko protected na the county, and this I think happened in 2024. Yes, so if this had been stopped in 2024, and the other worst thing about Kenya ni you don't know kama huyo county official pia alikuwa ameenda hapo pia kutafuta, is there where I can, you understand? That's the worst thing about the country, you never know what was happening there. Alafu akaambwa no, tayari tushonge ule mwingine, wewe tutaki story yako. So now we have to move around this place, and you have to move around when you are super paranoid. So nicheki kuna a certain architect who was talking about this, and alibonga juu the dangers of, first of all, something that's been approved for 16 floors and for 12 floors ending up at 16 floors, which it was not. It was supposed to be 17 floors. So pia alikuwa make mistake hapo. Afu pia kabonga juu substandard materials. If you look at the way that building collapsed, ilienda pikiwa. Alafu it also shows you greed. Greed is so interesting because of greed, now you don't have a building. Remember that building you could try to rush because you wanted to make extra money? You don't have that building. Remember, because you wanted to do things super fast, now things are going to be super slow. Remember ulikuwa unataka kuruka steps, zile bribes zote ulitoa, hiyo pesa yote imeenda hivyo, unless you snitch. And even if you snitch, wrongful death, that has to be there, and that lawsuit has to be paid either in apartments or hard cash. Wakisema hawana hard cash, those families need to be given a few apartments hapo to recover hiyo pesa. And haiwezi kuwa ati mseni Bolt driver alikuwa anatengeza 30,000 per month, let's pay the family 30,000. No, it has to be in the millions. There has to be consequences. So hizi kudanganya mi saizi, saizi I'm so scared, man. Like, this is a neighborhood, mufraya sana kuwa kwa hii neighborhood and seeing the development, najua. And I'll joke hizo stories za ido ya Minnesota inatomeka hapa vizuri sana, but now after when you look at even the fact that if you go online you'll see mse kama Ruku alitokea, and when Ruku was here I could just see him smiling, najua, and unashindwa what is there to smile about? What is there to smile about? Like, people are trapped, people have lost their lives, you know. And I know I'm the sort of person who says that life is very random, so we can never know, and tomorrow is never guaranteed, but at least let it be something that was unavoidable. When it's corruption, when unachiki MCA Alai anatokea and he's naming officials, and don't forget this South Sea, and are buildings only being built in South Sea? No, kila pahali. Saizi unaweza kuwa wewe mwenyewe place una stay kuna building inaundwa next door. Do you think rules zimefuatwa? And these things also show you how many jobs can be created in this country, because try and imagine a situation whereby kuna hao watu wa oversight, watu wana check, na on top of whom to wana check there is another person on a higher level. Alafu kuna watu wale invisible, wale these people don't even know about. Achingi kama I think in these developed countries kuna kuagakani makarao, kuna internal affairs, wale ujuagi wanakamigi pale, wana IA wana investigate kitu hata ujuu na investigate hiyo, alafu you find yourself in trouble. So yeah, so this is what happened, man. And yeah, these things sometimes hit close to home, and these things are scary, man. If you had to ask, I remember when this happened, like eventually tumebonga na Ian jioni, and I remember asking Ian, like, how many times have you used that road? Akasema haezi count. Wife haezi count, because wife wagana 9 to 5, so she has to use that place every day. She has to yopitia gayo njia kila siku. Mimi mwenyewe nimekaa hii area for very long. Hiyo building ilianza kutengenezwa November 2023. Nimepitia hiyo place at least on the lower side. Kani 2023 nimepitia hiyo place at least, let's say, a whole year of every day. So nimepitia hiyo place at least 350 and 365 times. That's on the lower side. And every time niko napita hapo, you're flirting with death. You're flirting with death. And will there be consequences? No, there's no guarantee that there's going to be consequences. So I remember nikitoka hapo, and like one of the things that also happened is hii kitu, one of the things pendagi kufanya of course ni kuanza kushoot gari za watu, but kuna gari fulani ilibaki nimecheck, there was so much dust on it. It was a Mazda, and I just felt funny kui record cause but I think I had a footage of your Mazda. Nilichukua haraka cause kwa nataka pia mse wa Mazda shindoni aje, but this Mazda was showing you the amount of dust that your building could collapse ili cause. Yes, so nilicheki kuna mse fulani kwa ananiangalia nikashindoni aje. I need to get your idea nini, but yes, so this is what happened, man, and this is the price of greed. And greed affects all of us. Corruption affects all of us. Corruption is very expensive. Now, this other building inasemekana it's unstable and it might need to be brought down. So there's that. And the only language that everyone understands is the language of money. So if you are to ask me, people need to be sued. If you are to ask me, settlements need to be in the hundreds of millions. And people, there has to be enforcement where this money has to be paid out. Because if these people can still bribe their way out, najua kaini do ya Minnesota, they need to make more calls do ingine itoke Minnesota. But to allow this to happen and to allow people to live in fear, miyo njia sasa siwezi waitumia tena. Najua that's just one of the things ile niko like hiyo njia sitaki kuitumia tena. But saa hizi vile nakwambia hii place imejaa skyscrapers, and I have to wonder how many have been approved, how many are legit, because hata hizi zile ni mzee zile wasosha ingia ndani pia zinaweza collapse if it was done in a certain way where it's not the same level that it's supposed to be. All it takes is nature to do its thing. Nanga kuna time kulikuwa na tremors hapa Nairobi. Now what if there's another tremor? Alafu building zetu of course hatukuagi to make earthquake proof, but now try and imagine a building that was supposed to be this amount of floors that is even a higher number of floors. So yes, there's that. But there was other news ile nilicheki ile ilikuwa like Jalas alitokea hapo sijui kama amelewa akafukuzwa. Do I have any information on that? No, I don't have. Was I there? No, I was not there. Alafu pia ukicheck footage yangu, I was taking it from far. Why? Because I was using my phone. This is one of the days where niliwish ningetokea na kikamera because ningeweza kuingia far. Hakuna mtu angechukua mimi si journalist, because of course makara walikuwa and I don't want to cordon the whole area. So there was that. But yes, corruption, man, affects all of us. If you've been to South Sea and you've been to South Sea Shopping Center, nikimalizia hii story, then I can guarantee you 100% ushatumia hiyo njia. Na kome kuja hiyo place after 2023, I think which month? I think maybe December 2023. It means you flirted with death. And you flirted with death without even knowing. How fair is that? And they just keep getting away with it. Someone needs to pay. And not just someone, even the county needs to pay. It needs to be, corruption needs to be expensive. Najua. So, as I keep saying, man, I'll ask, dauliza levy kama mwenyewe anaweza ingia kwa hiyo lawsuit. Because hii kuanza kuflirt na death hivyo jo. Shit. Iko Nini.